from the All Indiana Podcast Network.
It's time for real conversation about the real issues that affect our communities.
Poverty, education, equality, and more.
This is Real Talk.
Real Talk with Rev Charles Harrison.
Welcome to Real Talk on the All Indiana Podcast Network. I'm Rev Charles Harrison. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about the tragedy that happened yesterday. Ron G., who is the founder of Ceasefire Indy, was shot and killed yesterday at a gas station at 38th and Arlington here in Indianapolis. And we want to talk about what does that mean for the city? And are we seeing a worsening and an escalation in the violence on the street of Indianapolis?
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites, like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies, like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee for your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
They say opposites attract. That's why the Sleep Number Smart Bed is the best bed for couples. You can each choose what's right for you, whenever you like. You like a bed that feels firm, but they want soft? Sleep Number does that. You want to sleep cooler, while they like to feel warm. Sleep Number does that too. Sleep Number Smart Beds also learn how you sleep and provide you with personalized insights to help you sleep even better. You have to feel it to believe it. Find the bed that's for both of you, only at a Sleep Number store. 9 out of 10 couples say they sleep better on a Sleep Number Smart Bed. Time to catch some Z's. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number number 1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now during Sleep Number's biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition Smart Bed, plus special financing for a limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com. See store for details.
This is Rev Harrison. This is a real important issue that we need to talk about as a city, this violence and the gunning down of Ron G. in our community. You're going to hear more about this because this cannot be accepted. I had residents call me. I seen D. Ross, one of the other community activists who was out here trying to curb violence. He was saying the same thing, how bad it is out here. You had community leaders, you had elected officials at the scene, you had clergy, and everybody is recognizing how bad it's getting in the streets. No one is safe. You have a community leader who is the head of an anti-violence group in Indianapolis, and he's gunned down on Thursday morning. He's gunned down in the daylight at a gas station at 38th and Arlington. Now, this has to be unacceptable. They're so brazen now that they will gun you down anywhere, any place, any time of day. It used to just be basically nighttime violence. Normally, we would see it at nighttime. It tended to be later at nighttime when violence was occurring in the neighborhood, but they're not afraid anymore. Their mentality is if they catch you somewhere, then they're going to kill you. It is because we're now living in a time where people no longer fear any consequences of this kind of behavior, where you can kill someone and you are not afraid that you're going to be held accountable. And matter of fact, you would kill just anybody. Now, if residents and now leaders are now vulnerable to this violence, then we're all in trouble. And I'm speaking to everybody today, everybody in Indianapolis, whether you live in the hood, in the urban core, or you live in the suburbs. They don't care anymore. And we have to rise up as a city. They don't care where they pull those guns out. They'll pull them out and choppers or whatever kind of rifle they may have. They will shoot anywhere. And now it looks like they will do it any time of day. They don't care if you're a leader or not, if you're someone prominent. They don't care if you're elderly. They don't care if you're young. They don't care anymore. Now, this is what is troubling. That they have no fear. There are no lines in the sand that they won't cross now. And we have to really address this. Now, to all the elected officials, stop telling us that things are better, because they're not. I know you keep talking about the numbers, but I'm telling you how people feel in the neighborhoods. We just seen it yesterday. One of the leaders of an anti-violence group, the leader of it, was gunned down. That tells you right there that they are not afraid to kill anybody. And what do you think the residents of the city now feel? There was fear yesterday at that homicide site. Yes, there was a lot of anger too. And I'm concerned that retaliations are going to occur because of what happened yesterday. But people are afraid. If they're gunned down Ron G., then they're gunned down anybody. If they're gunned down Ron G., then they'll gun down Rev Harrison. If they're gunned down Rev Harrison, they will gun down any leader, any resident in the city. Don't let people tell you that that's not true. It is true. It is not safe. And we have to come together. And this is what I'm hearing from residents and leaders after yesterday. And people have been frustrated because we're on pace again for 200 plus homicides for the 5th year in a row. We're on pace for that. There used to be a time when we would panic when we got over 100 homicides in a year. But now it's up to 200 homicides a year. There's something going on in our community that we have to get our arms around. And it's going to take everybody. We can't put no one on the bench. We can't leave people in the stands. We all have to get involved in this to try to address this gun violence plague, epidemic, pandemic, whatever you want to call it, in this city. Because it's not slowing down, it's not stopping, and it's everywhere. All you have to do is turn on the news. Somebody's been shot, somebody's been stabbed. And right now, we're around 120, 21 homicides for the year. In the 7th month of the year, we're going to eclipse 200 plus homicides unless it completely stops, which is not. There are too many things that we need to do. When you got drug dealers and gang members and OGs saying that it's getting worse, we have to listen to that. They're on the streets. They have the pulse of the streets. They're in the neighborhoods where this violence is occurring. And when they are afraid, and because they are afraid, more people are arming up so that you have more people out there with guns, and people are afraid. When they are afraid, then it says something to us about the level of violence that's taking place in this city, in areas of the city that is known for the high levels of violence. We cannot ignore this. They shot that young man and killed him, shot him up and killed him in his own vehicle. People are angry. Last night I was talking to people, trying to calm some people down, to let the police handle this, to give us the information or police the information that you have that will lead to the arrest of the person or persons that were involved in that murder. We cannot continue to have individuals, when someone is shot or injured or shot or killed, retaliate, because it does not stop. We cannot be silent on this. Today, someone said to me, well, no one is going to say anything. And I said, yes, because if I don't say anything, then nothing normally gets said. If I don't hold a press conference, nothing normally gets said. And when I do hold a press conference and talk about the issue of the violence and it being out of control, then I have people who are pushing back against me. You don't want me to say anything, but you're not saying anything. I don't want to be the one that's always talking about this issue, but y'all hold press conferences for other stuff. But everybody's silent about this violence. We have a leader in our community that was gunned down. I'm hoping that somebody holds a press conference. I'm hoping that somebody says something, because if they gun Ron G down, leaders, they'll gun you down. Preachers, if they gun this young man down, they'll gun you down. Elected officials, if they gun him down, they'll gun you down. They don't have any boundaries. They don't care who you are, because we're not holding anybody accountable anymore. Prosecutor, we need your help, because they feel like now they can do whatever they want to do. And this has to stop. All the resources that we have as a city ought to be on this case. We have to send a message in Indianapolis that this will not be tolerated. This cannot be tolerated. We cannot allow this to happen. We have to send a message in this city that there are lines in the sand that we will not allow you to cross. And this has to be one. The very people who are risking their lives to bring about peace, to help young people who are at risk, trying to get them on the right path. We can't have our leaders of these grassroots organizations, anti-violence groups, being the subject of violent behavior. No. You can't kill our leaders and think nothing is going to be said. You can't kill our children and think nothing is going to be said or done. No. And I'm calling on the residents of Indianapolis. For those of you who are watching me right now, I hope that you will retweet this and get this message out. Your voices are important in this too. We need to hear your voices. And you need to say to your representative, your council member, your state representative, your senators, that this is enough. We cannot tolerate this anymore. It's Friday. I'm concerned about the weekend. I'm concerned there's going to be a lot of violence this weekend. My prayer is that there won't be. But things are starting to bubble up in the neighborhoods. People are angry. And with anger and frustration, there are too many to feel the need to retaliate. Someone has to intervene in this, because this is getting out of hand. Mayor, we need you to speak to this city because you are the leader of this city. People are dying. We just had a leader die. Somebody has to say something. I cannot be the only one that gets on TV and talk about this violence. There needs to be other leaders talking about this out of control violence. It is out of control. Don't keep telling me it's not. It is. There have been too many people shot. There have been too many people killed this year. You cannot keep telling us that things are better when they're not. We got to bury Ron G. now because he was gunned down. A crime fighter, an anti-violence leader was gunned down by violence. That's not good. Now, I know a lot of you who get on social media, and particularly you get on my page and say, well, the black community keeps voting for the same elected official, but you cannot be vocal about what you think the black community needs to do and sit on the sideline. We need your help. I understand what you're saying, but we need your help. This issue is bigger than any one political leader, regardless of which party they come from. It's been going on for 60 years in America. It is complex. It is multi-layer. There is no one silver bullet that's going to fix this problem. It's not. I don't care who you are. There's no one mayor that can solve this problem. It's going to take all of us working together. The mayor, the prosecutor, INPD, every law enforcement agency in the city, every grassroots organization, every anti-violence group, churches, community centers, neighborhood associations, everybody is going to have to get involved in this and address the multiplicity of root causes to urban violence. Stop saying that one person can fix it. They cannot. Even if I was the mayor, I couldn't fix this problem by myself. I understand that. You need the team involved. And we need the team. But the team needs to say that whoever was responsible for Ron G. being killed, they need to be brought to justice, and this will not be tolerated. And then from there, we send a message to the shooters in this city that anybody that is killed, we're going to hold you accountable for it. We're already starting to see more residents that are coming forward now and helping law enforcement. We need even more. The solve rate this year is 60-something%. That's good. We need to get it up to 80 and 90%, back to where it used to be. Because people now are starting to stand up. If you don't stand up to these killers and these shooters, then the violence will continue. Whoever is responsible for killing Ron G. at 38th and Arlington at that Citgo filling station needs to be brought to justice. Somebody out there knows who killed him. You need to come forward. I need to say to the residents of Indianapolis, we need everybody. Those of you who live in the suburbs, those who live in the urban core, we need everybody involved. Stop coming on my Twitter page or X page and tell me that we need to stop voting for Democratic mayors. That does not solve anything. What are we going to do together to address this problem? I say enough to the mayor privately about how I feel. I'm always talking to law enforcement and elected officials about how I feel. I'm out on the streets 3 or 4 days a week. My teams are out on the street. 6 out of 7 days are on the street. We're out here trying to do our part. It's difficult. When today you can get into a fight, an argument, and it leads to people pulling out their guns to resolve their conflicts. How do we stop that? When people get mad, pull out their gun, or have some kind of conflict, and they shoot and injure or shoot and kill someone. It's not just all drugs and gangs. I know a lot of people say, well, it's the drugs and gangs and we need to lock everybody up. Well, we did that in the 80s. We did that for part of the 90s. And we still had high levels of violence in the black community and other communities of color. If you don't address the root causes, then you're going to produce more killers out of the poverty and the situation that exists in these neighborhoods. You're going to continue to have individuals that are going to become a part of the underground economy. They're going to join gangs and cliques, despite how many people you lock up, if we don't deal with these root causes. We need to say it's not okay for you to pull out a gun and kill someone because you have a conflict with them. That's not okay. It's not okay for you to sell drugs, and because the drug deal went bad, you're going to pull a gun out and kill someone. That's not okay. That's not okay that you're beefing with someone, and because you're beefing with them, you get so mad that you pull out a gun or a knife and kill them. That's not okay. We need to send that message that this is not okay. No. Aren't you tired? Aren't you tired of turning on the news every night, whether it be Channel 13 or Fox 59 or whatever channel you turn on, or listen to the radio, and always the first or the second story in the news broadcast is someone has been shot or stabbed, shot or injured, shot or killed, stabbed and injured, stabbed and killed. Aren't you tired of that? Aren't you tired of going to bed with that story and then you wake up with that story? Because someone has been stabbed and injured or stabbed and killed or shot and killed when you wake up in the morning. It's because we are tolerating this. When are we going to say enough is enough? Me and Rick Snyder, president of the FOP 86, in 2019 tried to warn the city. We had some in the press who tried to say we were exaggerating, rather than joining us in trying to help address the issue. If you're not out here on the streets, walking these dangerous streets, then you have no right to be writing stories or saying something on the news that is not representative or the reality of what's going on in these neighborhoods. Because you don't know. Unless you are out here, you don't know. Ron G lost his life because he's out here. You don't understand the dangers that are out here in the street for people and groups that are trying to help curb this. This ain't no picnic out here. We're trying to tell these young men who think that they're killers that there's something better for them and they need to put them guns down and them drugs down. And we will help them have a better life. But we're fighting the music and the cultural trends out there that glorifies being a gangster and a thug. That's what we're dealing with. Or the hopelessness that they're not going to have a better life than what they're living now. That's what we're dealing with. So they're glorifying having a gun. You see these young men with the gun in one pocket and the clips or the magazines in the other pocket. This is nuts. And now another young man, another leader is now dead in this city. Who's going to hold the press conference today? Someone called me this morning and asked me was I going to do the press conference. And I said, why do I have to do the press conference all the time? There are other leaders in this city. They hold press conferences for other things. Why are we not holding a press conference about one of our leaders being killed? I'm hoping that ministerial groups are organizing, our community groups are organizing today to say something. And I'm with you. Because this is unacceptable. We cannot have this. Because you will be next if we allow this to go on. If we don't draw a line in the sand, no, this is not acceptable. All of this senseless violence is not acceptable. We got to deal with this. We cannot stay silent. Don't tweet about it. Don't go on social media about it and giving your opinion. Let's get involved. I had a lot of OGs that reached out to me yesterday that used to work for 10 Point. They said there are others who are out there that would like to start walking the streets on the east side of Indianapolis. I'm going to be meeting with them in the next week. I'm open to it. If you want to bring 10 Point over there, and I know there's some groups that don't want us to come. If you don't want us to come, then you do it. If there are people who are willing to walk in these hotspot areas on the east side and who want to do it wearing the 10 Point vest, I'm open to that. I'm open to doing that. Because I'm tired of this. I'm tired of having to do these podcasts talking about the violence in Indianapolis. I want to talk about some other things, but I can't stop talking about it if we're not going to address it. This is a problem in Indianapolis. It's getting worse. That's what I'm hearing. It's getting worse, Pastor. That's what I'm hearing. I know other people are saying that it's getting better. The community feels like it's getting worse. They're hearing the gunshots at nighttime. They're dealing with the trauma of the violence. They know about the break-ins, the robberies that are occurring. They don't always make the news. They're saying it's getting worse. They see all of these young people and middle-aged people and some older individuals in the neighborhood who are carrying their guns, who are flashing their guns, who are shooting in the air sometime. It makes people afraid. People are afraid. That's not better when people are afraid. When we're on pace again for 200 plus homicides, when we're on pace again for 1,000 plus stabbings and shootings, that's not better. We need to do better. But we're not going to do better if there's no outrage in the community, if we're not saying enough is enough, and we're not mobilizing as a community to address this, if we're not holding the prosecutor and others accountable, that they have to hold people accountable who are breaking the law and the norms of our community. No. This senseless violence is unacceptable. Brandishing a gun and using it in a commission of a crime again and again and again and again is unacceptable. Putting violent offenders on an ankle bracelet when they've done it 6 or 7 times, well, maybe it's time for them to go someplace else rather than an ankle bracelet at home where you say you're monitoring them, where they're still in the neighborhood, still involved in reckless behavior. And you wonder why in the same neighborhoods we still have high levels of shootings, stabbings, homicides in these same areas over, for many, the past 20 to 30 years. It's getting worse. I didn't come on here to sugarcoat anything. I'm trying to be real because I'm out here and I know what I see. I know how dangerous it is. I know all of these groups that are in Indianapolis that are anti-violence groups. I'm going to applaud them because I know the risk that they take daily in the work that they're doing to try to reduce this violence. I understand the dangers that IMPD officers are encountering every day in the streets because I see it. I know what they're up against. We have let it get out of hand in Indianapolis. I'm going to say that. We have let it get out of hand in Indianapolis. We let it get out of hand because we politicize crime and violence in this city, public safety. We got to stop politicizing public safety because if we don't, it's not going to get any better. And we're going to lose more Ron G's. No, we should not lose no more Ron G's or anybody out in our community that's trying to curb violence. They should not be the subject of a violent act or object of a violent act. It should not happen. We should not have news stories about our leaders that have been killed in the neighborhood trying to stop the violence, and the very violence they're trying to stop, they are the victims of it. No, that cannot be acceptable in our city. No, Indianapolis, no. And I need you, everybody that is listening to me now, everybody that will listen to this podcast, we need you to get involved. There's a lot of angry people now that we're trying to calm down. There's a lot of talk about who may have done it. We're trying to calm people down. We're trying to get people to come forward because we don't want anybody else to die. We want them held accountable, but we don't want them to die. But if we don't get involved, if we don't speak out, if we don't say enough is enough, then we're sending a signal to those killers on the streets that what they are doing is acceptable, and it's not acceptable. You're not going to turn this city into the Wild Wild West, and that's what we have allowed, for individuals to turn this city into the Wild Wild West. That is not acceptable, Indianapolis. And we need you to stand up, to speak up, and to get involved so that we can stop this madness. Enough is enough. This is not healthy for our city. I know I was fired up today, but I'm troubled by this. I'm saddened by what happened. And I don't want that young man's life, Ron G's life, to be in vain. Let's turn this into something positive by honoring his life, by all of us getting involved, saying enough is enough, and saying that we must hold those accountable who violate the norms of our city and who are engaged in senseless violence that is claiming the lives of residents in our city. This is Rev Harrison. I hope that you have enjoyed this podcast, Real Talk with Rev Charles Harrison. We try to weekly talk about those issues that are important to you, and I pray that you would subscribe to this podcast. Many people have asked me, well, how can I listen to it? You can go to the All Indiana Podcast Network under Real Talk, and you can find my podcast. I ask that you share today this X live stream feed to others so that they can hear. And you can send me topics that you would like to hear me discuss. I bring in a lot of guests a lot of times to talk about a lot of different issues. This is a real important issue that we need to talk about as a city, this violence and the gunning down of Ron G in our community. You're going to hear more about this because this cannot be accepted. But thank you so much for joining me today on this podcast. I pray that you have a blessed and you have an awesome day. This is Rev Harrison. Peace.
This is Real Talk with Reverend Charles Harrison.
Be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast.
And be sure to check out other great podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Online now at allindianapodcast.com.